Hey there, friends and enemies, JoPaWrites here again, and today we got another This Week in Destiny, going over a massive amount of changes coming to the game, but instead of going everything line by line, I'm going to touch on the things that I believe are important and will impact the game long term. First off, the only real major PvE change we are getting is some updates to the Prophecy Dungeon. Specifically, they are removing the Swift Verdict Sidearm, the Long Walk Sniper Rifle, and the Last Breath Auto Rifle. The Last Breath is one that I actually enjoy, and they are adding a new origin trait called Crossing Over, which says these weapons have increased range and handling for the top half of the magazine, while rounds at the bottom half deal increased damage. A very interesting perk. And they are adding 3 weapons from the OG D1 that I have missed badly. The Prosecutor Auto Rifle, which is one of my favorite guns ever in Destiny 2. I'm super stoked about this. We also get the Adjudicator Submachine Gun and the Relentless Pulse Rifle. So they're also adding the new origin trait to the Judgment Hand Cannon, Darkest Before, Pulse Rifle, and Sudden Death Shotgun, and they've updated some encounter drops as well. Hopefully this pushes people to actually run the Prophecy Dungeon more, especially when it is the weekly rotator, now that it has some new things to chase on the road to the final shape. I think that's a very good idea, and I wish they did it a little more often, to be honest, especially with older raids and dungeons, give people a chance to jump back in. It provided a massive boost when they did so with the Last Wish raid weapons, and it's something that I wish happened more often than it actually does. Now, on to the PvP changes that are actually quite massive, and I'm really looking forward to some of them. First off, in May, we have 3 new PvP maps: Eventide Labs on Europa, Cirrus Plaza on Neomuna, and Dissonance in a terraformed pyramid ship. These all sound very interesting, and they combine with a new idea from Bungie on their PvP maps. So they're shrinking all the existing current PvP maps by adjusting the spawns, so that way maps should feel 30% or so smaller, like Disjunction and those types of maps. So I hope that is the case, and it makes people not want to leave those larger maps, and it also hopefully means that these new maps either are smaller or play smaller. It did sound like they specifically designed the new maps for 3v3 and small-sided 6v6, which I think is a good idea, but knowing those maps are coming in May is pretty exciting, and I'm really looking forward to checking them out personally, because I do think they will shake things up quite a bit. Another massive change, they're adding Artifice Armor to competitive, and I haven't played competitive in quite some time, but this is something that I'll actually check back out, because all you have to do is win so many matches. They have different tiers now of rewards for competitive. You have the weapon that is associated with comp. You also now have the Artifice Armor, and it's the only way to get Artifice Armor in PvP, so I think that will appeal to a lot of people, and hopefully provide a bump to that playlist. This all drops in update 7.3.5, which drops on March the 5th. So that's a good change. We got a passage of ferocity changes. Anyway, a bunch of trials changes, but the specific one that I think will be interesting and will allow for some replayability is the persistence card, which if you get a win and then you get a loss, you lose a win. But if you get 2 wins and then you get a loss, you lose one of the wins, and you can essentially go to 7 wins without going flawless. So as long as you're winning 2 or 3 in a row, eventually you will get to 7 wins, and this is for folks that don't go flawless. I've seen some backlash from the PvP community talking about, essentially they're giving away rewards, but you're still going to be grinding. If you are going win for loss or 2 wins for loss or something of that nature, you're still going to be grinding for multiple hours, so it is going to be less efficient than a Grandmaster. You're better off trying to go flawless if you possibly can, and it's just for something who has the time and wants to put in that effort. And you won't get the other rewards associated with going flawless, because you won't actually go flawless or go to the lighthouse. You'll only be getting the adept weapon. So that's something that, again, if you do that, you don't get additional adept weapon drops after you complete that card. So there's really not a huge advantage to this. It's just for people who want to play the game a ton and don't necessarily trust themselves to win consistently. It is a single adept weapon. It's not going to break the loot or anything like that. And maybe you get 2 adept weapons if you can turn in your card. But again, hopefully this pushes people to play more, but I don't think it's going to add a ton of replayability for those who are already going flawless anyway. So if you are a PvP player upset about this, I wouldn't worry about it. It's not going to be a massive change. Now, we're also getting some updates to Clash, a new collision mode, which is essentially hardpoint from Call of Duty, which I think is pretty interesting. Iron Banner Tribute rework, which I'm not super interested in. Checkmate back in Crucible Labs, again, not huge as far as what I personally care about. And then there's a hardware mode in Crucible Labs, which is weapons only, no abilities whatsoever, which I think I'm not super interested in, but I know some people will want to check it out. Now, they also talk about matchmaking, rank-based matchmaking, Trials of Osiris Trios update, outlier protection, lobby balancing, and all that kind of good stuff. I won't go into details about a lot of them like I mentioned, but I will say that I think there's a lot of misconceptions with the way that they want to promote PvP, because in a game like Destiny 2, you have to be deep and you have to be wide with your player base. So they want to encourage the PvP players who are consistently playing. But the problem is, oftentimes when they move the needle too far towards those players, the more casual players who make up the bulk of the player base end up stop playing. And right now, the game feels very slow. We're in this long holding pattern until the final shape. But as PvP picks up, if we see a massive increase in the PvP player base into the final shape, and if the game turns some things around at that point and brings people back, you're going to want to keep the more casual and average players around as long as possible. And balancing that, having the more casual and average players around while also letting the high skill players enjoy it is something that no PvP game is really doing right now across the industry as a whole. You look at people complaining about COD and Apex and the finals, which recently dropped, and everyone is kind of upset about it. And I think we are at a bigger divide with casuals versus more competitive players, as we've seen, than ever, as long as I can remember, and I've been gaming for like 30 years. So it's just one of those things that I don't know if this is something that can be changed. So they go into detail about their theories, why they want to do different things with the game, why they have skill-based matchmaking, why they want to try to promote as many people as playing as possible, and all that stuff. And I don't think all of that will necessarily land on the right ears. I don't know if people are going to care about it, but I do believe that some of the changes and some of the transparency is necessary. I don't know if any of the stuff that we've seen is going to move the needle all that much from now until the final shape, even with some of the new content that we might be having. But I do feel like once the final shape hits, hopefully they're setting up themselves to have the track turned around just a bit to make sure people who jump back in for the final shape are then playing other types of content, strikes and PvP and everything, and sticking around just a bit longer than they would if they just hop back in for the expansion and then leave once again. We'll see. Still got some time to remain until we know how that's going to be handled, but I think a lot of these changes are pretty positive. So definitely let me know what you think in the comments down below. Are you excited about some of these changes? Are you a PvP player, non-PvP player? And what do you think about everything that's happening? Personally, I love the Prophecy Dungeon changes. I'm looking forward to the competitive changes. I'll definitely check it out. And I will hop into regular Crucible and see if I'm enjoying myself, especially once those new maps drop. I will check them out as well and have some gameplay on there because I really enjoy PvP when I'm not taking it too seriously. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, it helps me out tremendously. Shows you want to see more Destiny 2 content from me. I know it's a slow period right now, but I'm still going to be focused on the game when I can. My name is JoPa. Have a good one, and I'll catch you all later.